Long time no talk, you know. I'm very excited to talk to you. I'm excited to talk about your kind of not new, but your gig in social selling, which I love and I'm jealous of, and obviously demos that are important to me, right? So you're in recovery in SE,
I am. I am.
right? You
I'm
worked
an
at a
SE at
lot of
heart.
companies. I see it hard. You're a recovering SE, and this is the second time I'm saying that today to somebody. Um, and you're a product marketer now. So tell me about what you do right now and maybe where you do it and kind of what's your day-to-day like as a
Sure. Yeah.
recovering SE in product marketing.
Yeah. So I am I'm senior product marketing manager slash CDP evangelist for Treasure Data. So we are an enterprise-wide CDP, customer data platform. And I've spent my career in the MarTech space. I was in, as I started in consulting, and then I ended up as doing a lot of the SE roles without the title, and then finally ended up, in the SE world in MarTech. And I loved obviously being hands-on and working with customers and working with clients. But I thought, as I was kind of progressing and where I wanted to kind of take the next step in my career was really focusing on doing better demos, telling better stories, having leveling up the entire team. And so the opportunity came up at Treasure Data to kind of do that, where I get to still be very hands-on with our pre-sales org and work with our sales teams and help kind of take the skills that I had in the past. But now I get to create messaging. I get to, like you said, do a lot of social selling as an evangelist, going out and kind of spreading the word and talking about kind of the promise of CDP. So I get the benefits of still kind of those skill sets that I've gleaned over the years, but kind of do it at a broader and kind of more strategic level so that I can kind of focus on helping everybody as opposed to just trying to level myself up.
And so I associate product marketing with like go-to-market positioning every single day, but I don't necessarily associate it with demos. Tell me about that. Like you said, that it's going to help, it's helping you. So tell me how you associate it with demos.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously a big part of, positioning and messaging is telling your story. And in the product marketing world, right, it's telling your product story. So being able to then connect the dots between kind of both sides of the equation, which is here's what our product does, here's where we're good at it, and here's where we fit with then here's what our customers want, here's what they're trying to do, and here's why we might, do it well for them. That's really what an SE is trying to do, is trying to navigate that. And my goal is to help them make up some of those words and put those stories together so that they don't have to figure it out on their own, right? They've got enough to worry about. So, the idea is for me to be that kind of go between to help, give them both, tactical, like hard positioning and messaging, but also soft skills. How do we present it? When do we present it? What are some of the ways that we may present it so that it's meaningful, memorable, it lasts and it's understandable? Because obviously one of the biggest challenges, a lot of, especially in tech sales, is to not make your demos confusing. So, being able to present something that is understandable and memorable and checks all the boxes, but doesn't leave people walking away confused.
Yeah, and so you said the word story, right? And a lot of people say, well, just tell a story. The demo needs to be a story. And to you and me and others, it's probably obvious and instinctual. But what does it mean? Like, what is a story? What makes it a story that just show a story?
Yeah. So, really what it comes down to is, and it's not, I think I just posted this on LinkedIn the other day. Like, it's not reciting Cinderella. It's not taught, you're not like giving this waxing poetic about something interesting. It's more giving it context, right? You have a character, you have some conflict, right? You have some challenge that the character is trying to overcome. And ultimately there is a point of, climax in the story and then a resolution. And every story in the world is framed in that. Well, a demo can be framed in that exact same way, right? So we have a character, it's a marketer, it's your profile, it's your person. You're stepping out of the, hey, go do this, click on this, touch here, this happens, right? Where we're just feature listing, or we're giving a tour of the platform. Well, that's very easy to forget. And the next time somebody does a different demo, all that gets erased in the customer's memory, right? So, but a story frames it up so it gives you a beginning, a middle, and an end that that the listener who's watching the demo can have a frame of reference. They know where they're at in the story. They're following along. Ideally, they can see themselves in that character that you're presenting, right? Because it makes it memorable, it makes it meaningful. And then you show, here's the conflict, right? Before you couldn't do this. Now, with this magic sword that I'm selling, you can do this, and all's happy in the kingdom, right? And so it's really just a cheat code, honestly, for sales professionals and for SEs and for marketers and everybody, just to frame their stories in a much more meaningful way that is meaningful for the listener.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best and simplest explanations of a story I've heard, right? And I'll give you kudos. You're one of the people where I remember we did some stuff together in the past, and I'm like, Zach, I think what I imagine is something like this, and I didn't have to do anything else. And a few days later, you kind of came up with like, this is it, and I'm like, that's exactly what I imagined,
Well,
right?
and I
Sometimes you
think
have
what
to
it is
explain a lot.
yeah, you've got to have the story gives you something to tie everything, all those pieces together, right? Because in a demo you want to hit all these different things, right? So there's pieces of your product or pieces of your platform that are like, oh, I've got to show this, I've got to show this, I've got to show this. Well, let's have a reason for showing it, not just because we think it's cool, right? And so a lot of times when we were building demos, it was like, okay, we know we wanted to hit on these 3 or 4 things, or we knew we could show this well, or this fits in with our product strategy, or whatever that was. Then we had to find a through line, and I think that was the big part that I always kind of pushed with pre-sales was find that connecting tissue that ties the whole, what you're doing together. And so yeah, that's
Yeah,
now I just do it for a lot of people, as opposed to
yeah,
just trying to do it for myself or for you.
yeah. Not for me, with me,
With you.
right? But so I call this all things demo, right? But let's talk about sales. Realistically, sales is not all demo. That there is no equal sign in there, right? But demo is definitely a big part of the sales process. And you're just approaching, what's interesting is you're approaching demo from a different perspective of a product marketer right now,
Sure.
right? But where does it fit in the sales process for you as a either former SE or as a product marketer right now?
I think the opportunity always is, we know, I know both from personal experience as well as research, analyst after research report says, we know buyers are way down the cycle before they even talk to a seller. We know that they are, they've done their own research. They don't want to be talked to like they're at square one. It's frustrating and it's annoying. And on top of that, we know that they're asking to see a demo very quickly, right? And so just by law of averages, if you can have a salesperson demo, you have more opportunities for the customer to see your product. You have more opportunities to connect to them faster, right? Speed. I know we've had leaders who say, what is it? It's speed kills all deals. Like or if you go too slow, and that's true, right? So I think the opportunity for sales to start demoing earlier in the process, and it doesn't have to be this big, scary, long custom demo, right? Sometimes it's just pulling up the one screen that kind of gives the aha moment to the customer. They're like, yes, I'm in the right place. Because that's really what they're trying to do in their head too, is qualify themselves in or out of your product, right? Is this right for me? Is this what I want? I'll check the boxes later, but I'm like, am I even wasting my time via price, via, features? So yeah, giving sales that opportunity to have a better story, whether that's through a clickable demo, whether that's through a demo video, where that they can share it ahead of time and saying, hey, this fits with what we've been talking about or what we did in discovery. I really want you to watch this. So when we get together next time, you're ready to go. I don't see anything wrong with it. I really don't, unless you don't have a product that can be explained concisely in a couple of minutes, which I challenge
Cheaper
it.
product.
Yeah, then that might be a product problem. But I know there's people in highly competitive industries who are afraid of showing stuff too soon, and I think we're in a world where buyers are going to just walk away then, because there is enough competition in enough categories that there are alternatives. Like there is no like one solution for a single problem anymore. If there's a problem and it's a good problem, there's going to be plenty of solutions.
Who was it? Was it Domo, famously, who made you sign an NDA before you see a demo? I think.
Yeah. And you don't get to see it because it's BI. They all work relatively the same. Yeah, the devil's in the details, and our category, CDP is very, very convoluted and very messy. And the reality is there isn't one feature that we do that's better than everybody, right? But 5 things together is what make us good, right? And so part of it is telling that story, because you don't want your customer also just to get hung up on one feature, right? They saw something that was really cool, and then that's all that they can think about. Like, you might be dead in the water before you started because you waited too long.
I sometimes talk about this idea of like an art of hypothesis, like show them the hypothesis early on, but you just gave me an idea for like it's the art of keyword matching. When you're showing them the one screen of your product, you're actually matching keywords that they have in mind with
Yeah.
keywords in your product, right?
Yeah.
That's the basic qualification. Are the keywords there? And I see it on myself. I'm the first person that wants to demo and kind of talk to customers to find out more. But like, if I'm looking at a product, I want to see a screenshot. Are the keywords there?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, especially at events. Events are a huge opportunity, where you're getting into, getting in front of somebody potentially way earlier in that cycle, right? Before they've done all the research and whatnot, they have that inkling of a problem. I want every one of our sellers, and we do it now, and most of our sellers, we don't send SEs to any of our events at Treasure Data. It's all, I go a lot, and obviously, so I can do a little bit different than maybe a traditional product marketer, but our ADRs, our business development reps, our account development reps are demoing, our sales reps are demoing at the events, and sometimes it's as simple as showing the unified customer profile, right? This is what does a CDP do? It brings all these profiles together and creates that profile. So I show that, and that might be the only screen that I'm going to show, but it gives that customer that light bulb moment of like, oh, and it starts here, and then you can say, and then from there, either you ask some questions like, how would you use that if you had it, and let them answer, or you can say, now we can do X, Y, and Z. Which one of those are interesting to you? So
you're brave in that. I talked to some people who are like, not only we want to send an SE, we need the most senior SE available to be at a conference. And what do you think those senior SEs are doing? Should they be generating pipeline or closing deals? Well, both, but
yeah, and I think there's still opportunity. I mean, we have some SEs go from time to time, and I shouldn't say we don't ever, but I mean, primarily speaking, that's not where they focus. They're focusing on deals, and it's hard to hire SEs right now. It's hard to get, especially the senior talent, and so it's very competitive and whatnot. So yeah, there are times where I go and I kind of fill that void, but I can also multitask, and I'm not tied to a specific closing deal at that time, right? I'm trying to raise the tide for all the ships, kind of building pipeline, accelerating deals, doing meetings. So I can kind of multitask while I'm there. And I think that's a huge opportunity that a lot of organizations miss out on, which is, yeah, there's value in the pre-sales org being able to do these demos, but there's also value in people who may not be quota tied necessarily to being able to evangelize and share the product and talk about it, because there's revenue benefit for everybody.
I think that's even practical, right? Like, you're not quotized, then you don't really care who you help.
Right.
While if I'm a rep and a West Coast deals comes to my East Coast territory because it's a conference, like, why would I be helping?
Exactly.
Because I'm a good human.
Right.
Otherwise. So put you on the spot, right? So you're an AE, or I'm an AE. What's the one tip you would give me on doing demos to close it out?
So one tip would be know their pain. If you can't identify their pain, you can't pinpoint what they are struggling with, or you can't guess, right? So you may not, if you don't get to talk to them, their industry, you should be able to probably make a guess, or if you don't, you've been in this business long enough, hopefully, that you can make an educated guess. Everything you should talk about should start around that pain point and validating that pain point, and get them to tell you you're wrong, right? Because frankly, people like to, I make an assumption, of what it is. If I'm wrong, they're going to tell me. They're like, no, it's not really that, it's this. And great, cool. Now we've both moved forward in our conversation, and we can continue to go. But yeah, focus on the pain, because the features and all the stuff you do is cool. But if there's not a meaningful pain point that aligns to what you do, you're dead in the water before you begin with. So find that pain point.
It's starting to be repeated conversation for me now, like the pain, or take a guess, right? And people love correcting. I call it the hypothesis. But like, they'll tell you you're wrong.
Yep.
And if you're right, you're a hero. And that's even better. Right?
Absolutely.
All right. And so, Zach, what questions do you have for me? That's in the discovery call now, right? So, Zach, what questions do you have for me? Or what's the one question you have for me, which is my favorite?
That's the one question I have for you. So, I know you've been talking the shift, and you've been looking at the shift of moving from everything, all things demo being a pre-sales owned activity to really being a AE, or an opportunity for AEs. So my question is, how do you roll that out? How do you get the sales team excited for the idea of demoing and doing that when they've been so conditioned to I'm going to bring in my technical guy. I'm going to bring in my technical girl. That's somebody else's job.
I'm not actually sure. They're so conditioned. Most reps I talk to, they would love to be able to do this. Most of them have what we could call an imposter syndrome, being afraid to do it because they think they're inferior and they know less. And I think that's just not true. And that would be my message to all of them. It's not true.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, when you walk into a customer, you're likely know more than the customer about your product, right? That's almost obvious. So that's not true. And then it's practice.
Yeah.
After you condition yourself to believe that you are not inferior, right? So I would say most reps want to do demos, but I'm always a big fan of kind of taking steps. And that's how I'm approaching things right now, right? Which is, okay, I'll help you with maybe what you're doing, which is like pipeline generation demos early on in marketing, whether that's videos or clickable tours. Actually, the legendary stuff we did together was a clickable tour for a customer, right?
Right.
And I'll help you with that. That helps reps understand a little bit more. Then we can move on to the reps. But I would always find like a champion, like the one rep that really wants to do this and is willing to take the risk, although there's very little risk, right? But to them, take the risk, try it out, and be the champion for, see, this person can do it. I want to do the same because they're having a huge success. That's how I would start. And finally, and I think Chris White, a pre-sales colleague, wrote a book, 6 Habits of Highly Effective SEs, and he calls it a habit. And I think it's a habit, right? So I think that you probably won't get a lot of success if you come as a rep and say, okay, I'm going to learn to do demos. You'll learn to do demos, and then you go home and do the same things. You probably need to do, my take is, at least a demo a month on a coaching call, or if you're doing it in real, like a demo a day or a demo a week. Just form a habit that you can do this.
Sure. Yeah.
That's how I would start.
Yeah. It's funny because I think you're absolutely right. And I hadn't thought about it from the imposter syndrome. Because I mean, when we go to these events, the AEs and the BDRs, especially the BDRs, they're so hungry to not just prove themselves, but they're growing and they're learning and they're excited about this, and they're, they jump in and want to showcase stuff. And then they go back home. And I think, sometimes because of the sales structure, because of the org structure, like they fall back into that. Okay, great. That was a wonderful meeting. Next, let me tee up my SC who's gonna walk you through the demo, and then they're back to playing that sales role. Which you're right. There's a lot. I mean, especially now, what's interesting is I've seen a lot of orgs, and maybe you've seen this too, where people are hiring SCs that aren't necessarily SCs. They didn't come from an SC background. They either came from the client side where they had, they've been buyers of this kind of software. They'd implemented, they've done it. They're coming from post-sales support roles. And so now we're starting to have a lot of people who are very smart technically, understand the product, understand the pain points, but aren't necessarily sellers, right? They don't come from that sales mindset. And so you have a lot of AEs who can really do a very well scripted or unscripted sales demo because they understand kind of the mode of selling, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I would just say it's not that hard, and it's the bane of our profession, your former profession as a C, is we say, who kind of spent 30 years saying it's hard. No, it's not.
Well, it's gotten easier. There's new tools like,
Sure.
and making it easier. And I know there's some favorites probably in your list and for SE tools, but even just agnostically being able to do demos easier, technology's gotten better. Yep. We're remote. We're not having to necessarily, have VPN connections into servers anymore to set, so there's so much of that is not like you're not installing, batch files on your laptop trying to, get into demos.
Servers in the trunk of your car.
Right. Well, I've never had that one, but
yeah.
That's scary.
Cool. Well, it was a pleasure, Zach. Thank
Always.
you so much. And I'm hearing you're writing a book.
I am. I've been working on a book, ironically, about storytelling, or unironically, I don't know, coincidentally, and really more around the scientific side of it, right? Which is the psychology and the fact that stories actually are more persuasive if you do the right things. So that is my little holiday project to kind of try and get as much done and get to the first draft as I can. So
good luck. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm writing a book too, but I have like 5 pages. I think you're further away.
It's all right.
Not further away, closer.
Closer. You know what though? 5 pages is better than 0 pages, right? So you're always a page closer every day.
Yeah, cool. All right. Thanks, Zach.
All right.